With Mother's Day right around the corner, we thought it would be fun to answer the question, why do we celebrate Mother's Day? Beyond the obvious, it's good to tell your mom that you love them. These days, Mother's Day is a revenue juggernaut. But the history of celebrating your mother goes much further back than the modern brunch and flowers. While the United States version of the holiday might be the most ubiquitous, the idea is much more ancient. Like so many traditions, the origins are often closely associated with various religious practices. We can look back to the Greeks and the Romans, who would hold grand celebrations to their respective mother goddesses. But if you want to draw a through line between the modern iteration of the holiday and its historical counterpart, well, we need to travel to medieval England. Mothering Sunday was a tradition that saw people returning to their mother churches on the fourth Sunday of Lent, where they would partake in a special service. And while this religious version of the holiday is still observed by some churches, gradually, over time, more secular elements were added to the day, such as giving your mother flowers or little trinkets. However, by the time the modern American version came to be, this English tradition had mostly faded away into history. To understand the current modern iteration of Mother's Day, there are a few historical women we need to discuss. In the 1860s, Anne Revis Jarvis started to organize Mother's Day work clubs, which were groups that aimed to teach women proper childcare. After the American Civil War, Anne would organize Mother's Friendship Day, a day that was designed to promote reconciliation between mothers from both the Union and the Confederacy. We should also talk about Julia Ward Howe, who was a noted abolitionist and suffragette, who in 1870 wrote the Mother's Day Proclamation, which declared that every mother should come together to promote world peace. She thought that every June 2nd, all mothers should come together to demonstrate the importance of peace. We should also mention Juliet Calhoun Blakely, an activist in the 1870s who inspired a Mother's Day celebration in Michigan. Then, there were Mary Towles Sassine and Frank Herring, who would work together to organize Mother's Days in the late 18 and early 1900s. As you can see, there were many pushes for a day all about mothers and motherhood. Most of these early iterations all having a clear activist element, something that is certainly lacking from the modern version. All of these women, and Frank, clearly pushing for a day of peace and harmony. I'm sure any mother with squabbling children can understand the sentiments. So now, this begs the question. How did all these different versions all come together to form the holiday we know now? On May 9th, 1905, Anne Revis Jarvis passed away, never seeing the holiday she had always wished to establish come to fruition. 3 years later, an event would be held in her honor. It was organized by her daughter, Anna. She had received funding to hold the event from a Philadelphian store owner named John Wanamaker. While a major memorial would be held in West Virginia, there would also be an event held in John's store in Philly. This was the first official Mother's Day. After the huge success of the first Mother's Day, Anna would spend the next few years campaigning to have Mother's Day added as an official holiday. By 1912, many states had unofficially adopted the holiday. Then, in 1914, President Woodrow Wilson officially established the second Sunday of May as Mother's Day. Finally, Anna was able to fulfill her mother's dreams. But not just hers. All the dreams of all the other activists who had worked to establish Mother's Day as a day of peace and love. However, this may have been the intention behind the holiday, but this is America, so it didn't take long for the over-commercialization of the day to take hold. This was to the great chagrin of Anna, who had become disgusted and enraged by what the holiday had become. She spent much of her time and wealth fighting against the flower shops, the card makers, and the confectioners, who, in her mind, were exploiting the day. She created campaigns to try to stop people from buying cards or flowers. She even spent the last years of her life trying to get the day officially unrecognized by the government. This trend did not end. In fact, it has only grown since the early 1900s. In 2023, consumers spent nearly $35 billion on the holiday, billions on food and gifts. Mother's Day has certainly moved very far away from its original intent. Needless to say, Anna would be appalled by the continued commercial growth of the day. So, why do we celebrate Mother's Day? Some may say it's simply a capitalist agenda to line their pockets, and to an extent that is true. However, now that we know the origins and intent, we can renegotiate what the day actually means. Whenever you're spending time with your mom, taking her out to brunch, or buying her flowers, think about Anna. Think about her mother. Think about all the moms in the world. Think about how if we treated everyone's mom the way that you treated yours, we may actually be a step closer to a day of peace and reconciliation. Is that a little sappy? A little corny? Perhaps. But either we celebrate Mother's Day because a corporation told us to, or we celebrate it because we love our moms. And love is always a little sappy. So, we here at Knowledge Burger choose to reject the cynicism and embrace that cheesy, sappy, naive love. Just like I hope you'll choose to embrace the subscribe button so you don't miss the next tasty Knowledge Burger we serve up. And if you want to learn more about the history of Mother's Day, we encourage you to take a look at the articles that we used as sources for this video, all of which are in the description below.